calling this meeting to order with the Debrief 2021 Approved Measures Debrief Subcommittee, December 15th, 2021. And everybody is here except for Doug Lasher, who might be a little bit late or might not be here at all. So going back, the last time we had an executive team meeting, we had asked Jeff Swanson to send us his notes and the whiteboards, and he confirmed he had budget to do so. I've not seen it yet. So I'm wondering, for those
I'm
who
having
are,
trouble hearing with.
Want me to volunteer to call him?
Chris, you got some background noise going on.
Yeah, Chris, you're going to have to mute yourself. Thanks.
So do you want to volunteer to contact him?
Well, I could, I just didn't know if, because we got this lessons learned group that Terry, Doug, and Chris were working on. I didn't know if you had already started or had reached out to him. Otherwise, I'll remind him, because we need to have those and definitely before December 31st. It'd be nice to have them in the next couple of days. And he thought it was just gonna take him a week. That was 2 weeks ago. So I will send an email to remind him. I'll copy Terry, Doug, and Chris.
That sounds good.
The other thing is this legislative intent group.
Wait, can I go back to the lesson learned thing?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay. So what exactly did you ask him to send us? You just wanted, he's sending us a.
We asked them to send us the whiteboard exercises and
Okay.
his notes from those, and especially those amendments that we had originally put on the table but didn't make either 2021 or 2022, and maybe a summary of what those were and why they didn't make it.
Okay, if you could like just CC us and just kind of give him a little poke, that'd be awesome, and then we can take it from there. And I have questions about we haven't met. I know, you guys are fairly aware that me and Doug have been like super busy, as well as I know, just like the executive team is as well, working on, getting things for the 8th. And since then, getting things tied up with the drafting committee. So we haven't met yet. But is this one of those things that we decided that we didn't necessarily have to have done before the 31st, that we could have that, we could do that afterwards?
The only concern I have is I think there's a little bit more oomph behind a document when you submit it as a sitting commissioner versus a former commissioner. Frankly, I don't care, but I think it would be nice to give these to the county manager's staff so they can archive it.
Okay.
And pull it out in 5 years.
Okay, I will take a look at like what he sends me and how hard that's going to be, and look at see what kind of work it's going to take to put that together, because the holidays are coming up.
Yeah.
And so asking people to, because there's tons of lessons learned. I mean, it's exhaustive. I mean, we can, communications and and outreach, and there's just lots of lessons learned and what we can do better. So so when he sends that to me, maybe I'll just keep you informed on what that looks like and see if we're going to be able to do that. But I don't want to put any hardships on anyone about it. But I do understand like your reasoning about why it's important to do it, as a commissioner.
Well, and Jeff needs to do it before the 31st because that's when his contract runs out. So.
Well, no, we would have to look at it before the 31st.
Yeah, that's
if
why
we're going to sign off.
I'm going to ping him that it would be nice to have it by Monday.
That would be great. Thank you,
All
Chuck.
right. Um,
Does that sound okay to you, Chris? You're on that committee.
Yeah, I don't see that it's material at all that it's done before or after we're done as commissioners. We literally have 5 years for this, and it's a courtesy to the next team, and I'd rather give them a good product than a rush one that comes from someone, you know, a team that was former commissioners rather than current. I don't see how that matters. So I don't think we need to rush into this, but we do definitely need to get the content from Jeff. And actually, you know, we could get that same information on our own from going back through the meeting agendas and minutes on the website, but it would be really nice if he could wrap that up with a bow on it for us, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see, now he's the one that has to get it done by the 31st. I do agree. I mean, you know, if it wasn't the holidays or something like that, you wouldn't mind spending 60 hours putting something, you know, really nice together. But it is, you know,
and I think having Jeff's notes, want to go look at the minutes. The minutes are pretty much summary and action oriented minutes. They're not detail oriented minutes.
mm,
So a lot of those things didn't show up that I think will be
I
in
agree.
this.
Oh, the
Yeah.
documents and presentations weren't there?
no, I think we need, that was part of his contract, though. I mean, I think, wasn't it, Chuck,
Yeah.
that we were going to ask him to do that, and that was part of the original contract. So,
Yes.
yeah, okay, thanks. But I mean, we'll do the best we can
All right.
with our
Well, I
limited
will
amount of time.
I'll ping him right after we're done here, copy you guys, and then we'll take it from there. But I agree. I don't see a need to rush it. It would be nice to have a pretty comprehensive document because, as you all are aware, when we entered this back in January, we had nothing to work with. And so anything I think we can give the next commission is going to be golden.
I agree. I agree with that. So I think, and I
Really?
think it's really important to have as well for the next commission. Maybe they won't run into like all the problems that we did.
So I guess if we got it in before December, it would be part of the official commission records for this time around. So we need to make sure that the follow-up, the lessons learned document is somewhere that's sort of publicly accessible to people, even when they're thinking of running in a few years. So I don't know whether the county will do that for us if we do it after December 31.
Well,
There's no reason they wouldn't.
I don't see why they wouldn't. I'm not sure if they post it on the website or just keep it as in their archives as commission documents and then
Yeah.
turn
Okay.
it over. But I think you just email them to Kristen or Tina, copy Kathleen Otto, if she's aware of what her staff is doing. And then I think it's up to them. And I don't
Okay,
see why they couldn't.
then I'll send an email out. I'll send an email out, Chris, if that's okay. You're on the committee. Just, and I'll CC you there, Chuck, as well, Chuck. And just ask them, saying that we were working on this and we want to make sure that it's in, you know, is it okay if it's submitted when we're not, after our term is over?
Yeah, and just note that I don't know what happens to our email addresses when we no longer in an office, or the WebEx connection we have, so you might need to do a Zoom if it's after
Our
January
email,
1st.
we don't have access. We don't have access to our emails after January 31st.
Which is good. I'm not intending to access it after December 31st.
They're converting all the emails anyway, so that if we had wanted to have access after, I forget which date, they're closing them all down and reopening them, not just for us, for everybody. So
It's
it
just like
wasn't
working
clear
in
to
the
me whether
healthcare.
we
It's
would
just like
keep
working in
ours
the health.
after whatever conversion date they had. There was an IT
just like
email on that county site.
Yeah.
Well, for us, after
After-
December
After
31st.
you
If we
leave
wanna
the hospital,
contact
you
us.
can't use your hospital email again. You can't have access to it.
Yeah, we
Right.
could only by a public records request. That's how we would gain access to our emails. The legislative intent, I'm not sure where to go with this because I've reached out to Kathleen Otto twice now and asked her to set up a meeting with us to talk about what more we can do to give her background or our statement, legislative intent on
Chuck,
these
I have a
measures.
question about that. I have a question about that because I know that you were talking and Christine, was it Christine Cook that kind of said like, no, you guys don't you don't do any legislative intent. I kind of remember that conversation, but
Yeah.
that you had with her around that.
Yeah, and basically I'm thinking the only thing I'm a little worried about is documenting how the ethics review subcommittee got to their proposal and maybe that's just in the notes for the lessons learned, but I mean, you guys
So
went through considerations there.
yeah, and I was on that committee. That was pretty, we just looked at model ethics. So I mean that was it was pretty basic how we did it. We looked at some really model basics, you know, the Pierce County one, and I think that you were involved with like
Did you
model,
look at
and
the,
we did a little bit. What?
did you look at
I'm
the
sorry, what?
HR, the Clark County HR ethics
Um,
provisions?
An ethics code that we're talking about, and what the actual ethics code that they're going to be writing is different than anything that you'll see in an HR thing.
Did you
So
read
if
it?
you look at the Pierce County, if you look at the Pierce County model, that's what we went for. We went for municipalities. We contacted
I
MRSC,
understand
those
that,
kind
but
of
our
things.
amendment reads that it applies to employees and contract people. And I'm just
We talked to
saying
the
that,
county staff about it. Yeah.
yeah, if you look at the county staff ethics section, it is very comprehensive, and I think it'll be interesting to see how they can reconcile that with our code of ethics.
Well, I want to
It's
go
past
back
We're
because
not we're not going back and forth about whether or not it can be reconciled or not.
No,
But,
it may be part of
yeah.
the intent. That's all I'm saying.
I do want to
No,
clarify
but that's not,
the
I don't
actual,
think that's our purview. I mean,
well,
to,
and that's okay. It's more for the use of the county council because they do need to have this passed by July 31st.
right.
I did want to pull up, where the heck did this go? The actual amendment is a little different than what we were just talking about. And there's the final, what is this, number 5? Was this amendment 5?
5 or 6.
Oh,
5.
yes, it is.
All right, let me expand this. Okay, I'm going to share my screen now because this is what was approved. Where's my share? There it is. All right, get out of there. There's what was approved. So it's adhered to by all departments and entities that receive funding, elected and appointed officials. If you remember in that discussion, it was pretty involved discussion. We actually did not drill down to staff in that. And that's why this does not reflect. It really, it's for the departments to figure out. So it specifically does not refer to any staff code of ethics or any code of ethics in any collective bargaining agreement. Because we just didn't want to interfere with that. And this is actually, I think, Terry, this is language that is very similar to what's in Pierce County's charter.
It is. It is, and that's what we did. It's not, I think that, it's not like what HR is doing with their employees. It's not like the teachings that HR does with their employees. This is an ethics code, a municipal ethics code.
It doesn't say it's municipal ethics, because I am only saying that when you say it's adhered to by all departments, then it does connect with the significant ethics within the departments. And I'm not arguing about it. I just was going to say if there were lessons learned or if we had intent, then it's important. What you're saying is important to distinguish it from the HR ethics code, because I was surprised how comprehensive it is.
So
It's,
I'm gonna, again,
doesn't
I mean,
matter.
again,
It doesn't
I
matter.
don't
I
think
was
it's
only
the
commenting
purview
that
of us
it
to
might
write,
be a lesson
because
learned.
we had conversations with staff around this, you know, and it was signed off by
Not
the
arguing.
county. Yeah,
I'm
so,
not arguing with that. I just think it's an interesting thing that they will be looking at. So
Well,
intent might
essentially,
come into it.
Bridget, what we did was we punted to the county council to figure it out.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they do, they'll need to, and it's up to them. They adopt the ordinances, so let them figure it out. But yet, Terry, if you feel that there's really no need to document any more of the legislative intent.
I don't think so. I think everything's included in our meetings, and then a lot of this came, you know, when we took it to the drafting committee. Um, and so all of those are in a meeting, it's all documented. I don't see any reason to have legislative intent. I understand and I really appreciate you putting that together for the 5 district, Matt, because there was, you know, questions from the public that I don't think the public is going to have a lot of questions about an ethics code. Every time somebody asked me about it, and every time I did any kind of teaching about it, I pointed them to Pierce County. I go, this is a model in Washington State that the kind of ethics code that, you know, at least as far as the commission was looking at. And, you know, like you said, that it's the county council will do with it what they want.
All right.
Oh, and then we made sure it was their purview to do that.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm hearing is we don't need to do anything else. We just, now I can tell you, having been involved with the freehold, not with the freeholders, not as freeholder, but active with getting kind of the charter implemented and all that we did back then. Nan Hendrickson has been contacted quite a bit by the county and by others since then to answer questions, even after the freeholders disbanded. So I would not be surprised for any of us to get calls or emails to our personal emails asking about things. So just be prepared. The reason that I wrote that 5 district memo is knowing what was coming, and it did.
I know, and you know what, Chuck, that really helped. Thank you for that.
Didn't change anybody's mind, but you know, that wasn't going to happen anyway.
Right. So, okay, so you're talking, we're discussing now about just what bullet point are we on? I forgot.
Well, let me go down. Essentially, we're on
Oh, got it.
this legislative intent, and I think what I'm hearing is we've offered we've offered to people as much as we can offer, and if they want to choose to accept it, they can, but it's up to them to accept it. So I'm going to suggest we don't have any more work or documentation to do here.
I know, and if people have, like, you know, questions about legislative intent, when we're not, like, specifically around legislative intent, when we're not commissioners anymore, that would be something that they would talk to the county council about as a county manager, wouldn't? You know, like, what does this mean? This ethics code, that would be,
Well, I intend to provide my personal contact information to the county manager in case they need to follow up after December 31st. And I don't have a problem doing that. We could just generate, if those people want to be resources after the 31st, we could just ask each of them to send an email to the county manager's staff for the record, just to let them know we're available. We have already let them know that if they want to have volunteers to help put together that how-to guide in 2022, that they're welcome to reach out.
that's great. And I would, you know, and I would be more than happy to answer questions of the subcommittees that I was on. I think it's important to have, like, if you're, especially if you're talking about legislative intent, to have people that are subject matter experts on those particular committees, like you on the, you know, on the 5 districts, and, you know, me on ranked choice voting and ethics, to have those contact. So maybe we could send them like contact numbers of subcommittees members that, you know, are available.
Yeah, I probably want to poll them first to make sure that they want to be resources.
No, I think we're gonna just assign everything to Doug Lasher.
Yeah, poor Doug. Chris,
Oh my God,
would you be
you know what?
interested in being a resource for diversity and inclusion? Since you put all
Absolutely.
that together?
I absolutely will.
That was, and Chris
For
too. I was
any of
asking
the
you.
committees I was on as well, yeah.
All right. Bridget, I don't recall what subcommittees you were on other than this one. And you're muted.
I joined 2 or 3 of them late, so I think Terry was the lead on the ethics one I was on, and I can't even remember.
You were on the ethic? Oh,
I honestly don't remember. I think Dorothy
yeah,
was on
it was
that.
just me and Dorothy Gasquet and Eric Holt.
Eric Holt.
And then also, I'd be happy to talk about the DEI one, because me and John Lotto worked on that from the beginning of the year.
Well, and
Not the
Chris,
DEI, the preamble.
oh, the preamble. I'm going to say Chris Goodwin kind of led that the DEI subcommittee, so I think he'd be a great resource for that.
Yeah,
So
and
why don't I
if
put,
anybody reached out to me, I'd check in with the other members of the subcommittee too, if for informational purposes or helping anybody understand stuff too moving forward. Just whoever's available and free to share as a private citizen what their experience was with the group.
why don't I send an email to each of the subcommittee chairs that are not us and ask if they would be interested in being on the list of people serving as resources after after December 31st, and see if they are, then give me your personal emails and we'll send that to the county manager's office for their use. I have a feeling I'm going to be contacted the next couple of weeks about 5 districts. All
Do you
right.
remember last time, Chuck, you about midway through the year, you went before council and listed off all the things they hadn't done yet
Did I do that?
for the last charter? Yes.
Oh, yeah, I went, that was, I actually had my charter report card, and
Yeah, yeah,
Dora and Milky were on the council.
yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty ballsy of me to do stuff like that.
Well, there are
Um,
still places where they haven't updated the language to reflect the charter, so.
Well, they need to do the whole set of amendments that were just approved, and they haven't done any of that.
Yeah.
Do you know,
That's,
I really liked Chris Cook's suggestions for like how to put, like, how to, you know, about what to have on the website, like okay, like how this changed and how this changed and, you know, and with dates. And she brought up the Pierce County model as well
Actually, I'd sent her the
as
Pierce
it
County
on theirs.
model. I'd sent her the Pierce County charter and asked her if that was what she was talking about. And she did. She said, yes, it's pretty much, other than there was something about repeal language that she didn't like, but um, they got to figure it out. I mean, at some point, that's why we're paying them to do what they do. And that's what just concerns me, is they're not doing it. And I don't know who's going to be tasked to do it. Is that going to be Lindsay Schaefer or Shapar, or is that going to be uh, some intern that they hire? I just don't know who's going to do that.
They are so short-staffed down there right now.
Well, you know, so what? This is the county,
Absolutely.
this is the county structural document. And if they can't keep that up to date, that's on them. That's frankly, I'm a little frustrated.
Okay, Chuck, I'm glad that you're on this committee and doing that, because I think that you have a strong voice to, and you'll get it done. Thanks.
Yeah, I emailed Kathleen Otto yesterday and said, we're meeting tonight. If there's anything we need to do to help, if we need to discuss it tonight, let me know. And I haven't heard a thing. So I might do one more tickler before we leave office, but I know they're closed on the 31st, so we'll see what happens. The only other thing then is Terry is leading, working with Lee Radford on kind of archiving the 2021 measures and adding the 2022 proposals, which need to be separately listed as 2022 proposals, and getting the FAQs up. Are you okay with that workload, Terry?
You're talking about the FAQs.
Yeah, for
I'm sorry,
2022.
2022. So she has them, and so she's going to get them up. And if she needs anything changed, and I did thank you for sending the one on consultation. And so I got one on everyone. I put a really brief just question, like, you know, what's the preamble? That's the only one I had to kind of make a question for, just so we had something about every single amendment. And so there's just one question with the kind of the explanatory statement that we had written for the preamble. So she has all that, and she said she'd reach out if she had any questions about that, and I'll let you know. But that shouldn't take too long to get up, because she said she'd try to do it as soon as possible. And then you can then you guys feel free to go in and contact me if there's something that you want, like, changed or something.
All right.
But they've actually the keep in mind, though, if you're going to do that, that these FAQs were written by subcommittees. So
Yeah. Well, it'd be nice. I like the way they finally worked it out. And I don't know if you got a chance to look at the 2021 measures, but they had the the resolution, and then next to it was, do you have questions on it?
right,
And I like the way they set that up.
yeah,
So,
yeah, that's all done. And just waiting for them to set it up. But she is going to do, like you just said, she's going to do it a separate, like 2021 still going to be there, and 2022 will be there.
yeah, and that was actually at Chris Cook's
Separate
request.
page.
Okay. I don't have anything else to cover. I think our work is, other than a few things with lessons learned and pinging Jeff Swanson, I think our work is done. What do you think?
And then yeah, and then if anybody on this committee that's not on the lesson learned want to send me like any answers you would need to feel free to email me and Chris and Doug, and let us know.
All right.
So I just wanted to ask about the how to follow up on that how-to guide. one of the reasons I was interested in it initially was that, you know, if there's a member of the community who feels like the charter's been violated, having somewhere that says what they should do about that, like who they should talk to or contact, was one of the things that I thought could be in the how-to guide. So I don't know where that fits or whether we need to do anything, but I just like the people knowing how to work with the charter, essentially.
That's a really good point, and actually it's a lesson learned as well, because when we first started out, we had that, I don't know, Chris and Terry, if you remember that discussion, we were talking about who's the charter police.
You're
And
right.
we pretty much, we were not. I mean, that's the Charter Review Commission's role, is not being the charter police. And so I think that's a good one. I'd be interested in hearing what the county's answer is to that.
Well, it's sort of similar to if there's an ethics complaint, who do you talk to first? Or, you know, a DEI question, even if we don't under code of ethics, something like that. I know there was a testimony from somebody right at the beginning of your process who had an internal, you know, charter complaint,
I'm losing.
but no way to figure out how to process it. So that was what I was hoping could be on a, you know, the page where you have the charter, but you also have an explanation of how to work with it.
Well, I'll tell you what, when I send the list of volunteers for follow-up after December 31st, the how-to guide committee, I'll add those who want to be part of that and maybe list out some of those items that we feel should be in there.
Yeah.
Just add that one in there.
I think that's important because people fight like crazy to get amendments passed. But then if they see a violation, where do they go? So that would
Okay.
be good.
All right. Anything else for the good of the order?
No,
Just to check in, Chuck, you were gonna follow up with Jeff one more time, right? To see if we can get the stuff Friday,
Yeah, as soon as, I was going to aim for Monday. So,
Monday, okay.
yeah,
You might remind him, it doesn't need to be anything fancy. He just needs to gather his notes and send it.
that's what he's really going to do. So that's why I'm kind of wondering why it's taking so long, but I will email him as soon as we're done here and copy all of you.
Thank you.
thanks.
All right,
Thank
I'm
you.
going to stop recording. Somehow, how do I stop recording? Stop.
Oh, stop.
Did you stop?
Stop.